Welcome back, everyone. Here we are for another screencast. We are going to be learning today about URL shorteners and QR codes. These are both great tools to be able to share websites with your students in a lot of different ways, whether it's just taking your class notes that you want to send out to them, or a worksheet, or if you want to give them some math problems with the answer sheet not together with them right away, but you want to kind of save that for the side till they're done. You can put a QR code, as we'll see what those are in a few moments. You can connect a handout with a page of a text and have a QR code that will link to the original text. There's all kinds of possibilities. So just to take a quick minute to kind of a little outline of what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to take a look at URL shorteners. We're going to take a look at two specific ones. As I mentioned in the blog, there are a whole host, dozens of the free URL shorteners. We're going to take a look at two, goo.gl and tinyurl.com, and we also will take a minute to take a look at another great Chrome extension. The same tool, goo.gl, Google has a Chrome extension which makes this even that much simpler. And then we're going to take a look at QR codes, quick response codes, and we'll look at how to generate those. And then we will take a quick look at QR voice, which is basically how to create a QR code that will be connected to some kind of audio. But we will spend the last portion of the video taking a look at, once you've created these QR codes, how do you have your students capture and read those QR codes, and that will depend what kind of device you're using. If you're using an iPad or an iPhone, we're going to suggest using QR After. On an Android phone, there's QR Droid, and on a PC, which I don't know if it's going to be too common today to do it this way, but if you don't have one of those other mobile devices, there is a software that you can download for free called QuickMark as well. So we'll take a quick look at those. Now I'm going to just start off with an example. This is a Google Doc that has some directions how to use Screencast-O-Matic to create a screencast. That's the program I'm using right now to create this video. Now again, this could be any file that you want to share. It could be a website. Anything that has a URL, a web address, is what we're going to be talking about throughout this video. So again, I'm using a Google Doc, but it could be a picture on the web from Google Images. It could be really any link to any web page at all. So first example, you'll see this is a pretty long URL. If I were to want to share this with my students in class, I couldn't tell it to them. I couldn't write it on the board. It's too long for that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the URL, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to try my first tool, goo.gl, and all I do is paste my URL right here into the box and click shorten URL, and like magic, over here we have a much shorter version, right? Obviously the HTTP goo.gl is always the same, and it's just a smaller extension, which is the rest of it. So if I were to right click and copy this and open up another browser and paste that in, it would take me to the exact same file that we were looking at before. Similarly, if I were to let's just to give that example, let's say I were to take us to let's say we're on CNN.com, and I find a particular article, 70 people injured in a fish attack. So again, once I click on that link, it's going to create a very long URL. So I can take that image and I can go ahead into goo.gl, I can paste it in, I can shorten it, and again here I will have a shortened version of it. Let's get rid of that, open up a blank browser, paste it in, and there we will go, is going to be my same site. So the point is, it's taking a website that I have, shortening it to make it easier to utilize. So we're going to stick with this document for the moment, and I'm just going to show you another tool. So again, we mentioned that the first tool would be goo.gl. Now we're going to try tinyurl. And by the way, one of the good things about the Google feature, besides that it is Google, it also will track all of the old QR codes that I have saved before. But the next tool we're going to use is tinyurl.com, like tiny, like small, tinyurl.com. And again, very simply, this is the same exact thing. I can paste that URL, click on Make Tiny URL, and in a matter of seconds, it's taken that into a tinyurl.com / and this much smaller. Again, I can highlight this, copy it, open up a blank browser, paste it in, and that will take me again straight to that same document. As you can see, it works every time. Now, the reason I like tinyurl better than the Google one is that it gives me the ability to customize my site so that I can put in that URL. Actually, that's the shortened one. Let's get the longer one back here. I can copy that again, go to tinyurl, paste it in, and I can say I want to try. Again, we have to make sure I don't redo what someone else might have done, but tinyurl.com, and I'm going to write JR for my name, Jeff Rothman, and screen, because it's screencast directions. And again, you can be as short or not as you want, trying to make it customizable to what you're doing. I'm going to click on Make Tiny URL, and that worked. Here you go, HTTP tinyurl / JR screen. And now, if I copy that again into a blank browser, that is going to take me to the exact same page. So that's the same tool, but again, the reason I like tinyurl is because it allows me to, like I just showed you, to customize what I'm doing. So that is really it for tiny URLs. As we said, I'll just show you one other possibility. Again, this is only going to work if you're in Google Chrome, but there is a Google Chrome extension that you can go. So if you go to the Chrome Web Store, you will find goo.gl URL shortener. Again, I've already added it to my web browser. You'll see it up over here. So what that will allow me to do is, if I am in that document again, I can simply go to my goo.gl URL shortener, click on it, and it will create automatically. I didn't do anything, so I don't even have to go to the website. This shortened version, I take this, I copy it, I go ahead and I create a new browser and I paste it in, and again, voila, it will bring me to that same document. So it's really, if you're using Google Chrome, as hopefully we all are, then this is really the simplest, fastest way for you to create a shortened URL. So again, that's just to summarize. We have now completed how to take a URL, a long web address like this, or like the one we saw on the news, and to shorten it so that you can either send it out or share it with your students if you're into Twitter. So we know that there's limits on how many characters you can use, so oftentimes people on Twitter will shorten their URLs to tweet them out. But whatever the usage is, it will make it a lot simpler than using this long URL. Okay, so that is shortened URLs. That's really all there is to it. Now let's talk about QR codes. So QR codes, quick response codes, I'm sure everybody has seen them to some extent. It's a image that looks like this, one of these kind of codes, which basically is an electronic quick response code that will take you to a website. Now, there's really only two simple steps in this, and number one is to create the QR code, and then number two will be to have, let's say, your students be able to capture them and go to the site you want. So again, there are younger grades could do vocabulary words with this. You could give different kids different QR codes to the translations of different words. You could have scavenger hunts looking for different clues with QR codes. You could share your class notes. I mean, really, there's endless. Take a look at the blog. I think around 7 or 8 different resources of how people use them in the classroom. But essentially, again, I'm going to take that same document, the one I've been using today, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go to a website called qrstuff.com. Again, it's free. You don't need any account. You just come right in, paste that address, and there you go. You hit enter, and it creates a QR code for you over here. And down here on the bottom, it downloads it for you. I'm going to just open it up in my computer so we can see it a little bit bigger. Bear with me for a second. There it is, opening up. and I'm going to open that. And I'm going to open it up just to make it easier here. I'll be able to see a much bigger version. You could print out this QR code if you wanted to put it up in class. You could, if you want to get your students to sign up for something, libraries are using these where you can have, a section of library books and then a QR code to information about the authors. It really is endless what you can do. And then we're going to come to the next part, which is how will your students decode or capture this. Now, there are, just to go back for a moment, we'll come back to this again to our little presentation here. So there are 3 ways, really more than 3 ways. It depends what device you're going to be using. Are you using a iPad or an iPhone, in which case you'll use an app. There's plenty of apps, a lot of them that you can use. We're going to show one called QR After, and then there's one for an Android phone called QR Droid. And then if you're on a computer, this is not quite as often, but if you're in a classroom, this would be useful. If you have computers but you don't have tablets or phones, then you could download a software program called QuickMark, and you can go ahead and utilize that to read your QR codes. So here we are. I'm going to go to my desktop where I have this program, QR Marker, open. Alright, so QuickMark is the name of it. And so let that open up. Okay, and there basically you can see the using the webcam. So what I'm going to do is you'll see this little box, and I'm going to I have an iPad here, and right like that. All of a sudden I had a QR code on my iPad. I put it into that red box, and voila, it opens it. And all I'm going to do now is double click on it, and that's going to take us to the QR code web address, which happened to be my blog, The Technology for Learning, and that's all it is. So if I have a QR code either on an iPad, printed out on a piece of paper, all I do is I put it up against the webcam on my computer based on this program called QuickMark, and voila, I can now have my computer go to that address. So one option, again, probably not as prevalent today, is to use your computer's webcam, quickmark.com, download the software, and then it will just simply, like I showed you, open up the camera from your webcam to be able to capture codes. And now let's take a look at how this will be used from an iPad and from an Android device. Okay, so now we're going to look. So I have here on my computer a QR code, and now I'm going to show you. I have here sitting on my desk an iPad, and I have an Android phone. The same would be from a Droid tablet. And let's start with the iPad first. Again, I mentioned before, this is an app called QR After. So I'm just going to open that up, and it will show you on the side the different URLs that I have captured before from QR codes, and then it'll ask you what you want to do. I'm going to click on Scan with Camera, and it's going to open up basically my camera, and all I'm going to do is put up my iPad right up against the QR code on the computer. Again, if you had printed it, it would have been the same, and voila, it has taken me straight to that URL. I can click on it. I have some options over here, and I'm going to go to URL, right, which is usually what you're going to want to do, or I could send an email or a text message. I'm just going to click on go to URL, and that QR code is taking me straight to, in this case was my Google Drive, so that was no big deal, but I'm utilizing a QR code in that way. Same idea here. If I have a Droid phone, I'm going to open up QR Droid. Very similar looking app. And I'm going to go, these are other ones that I have done. Here we go, click on scan. And I'm going to take my phone, put it right up against my computer, and in a matter of seconds, it captures it, asks me how I want to look at it. And again, the same QR code taking me again to my Google page. So the point is this QR code could be taking me anywhere. And again, I encourage you to look at the resources on my blog to see just some of the examples of how people are utilizing QR codes in classrooms really all across the world. Professional development conferences, people are sharing their slides. People are sending you to Google Forms, to any web address that you want to send with people. You can have this QR code. You can take this image. So that is how you capture the QR code from an iPhone or from an Android phone. And just to show you quickly, we saw before capturing from a quickmark.com. There's also a Chrome extension as well. QR Reader Beta, that if you Google and go, you can capture that, get that Chrome extension. Again, those will only work if you're using a Google Chrome. So if you have a QR code, you can simply, from your desktop, right-click it, go on Read QR Code from Image. By the way, the shorten this image with geo.gl we saw before, it could work as well. And I click on that, it will go straight
What is the capital of New Jersey?
to
Trenton.
that URL, which is actually a great QR code with an audio. Now, how do we do that? Just to end the video, we'll do that. There's a quick site called qrvoice.net that you can come in here and put in any text you want. Right? What is the best hockey team? And you could write the New York Islanders, and if you just click on enter, it will create this QR code. And if I click on that, it will take me to another page. So again, remember, you can put this up on the board, you can print this on paper, and if I right click it, again, these are just different options. You could use your tablet, you could use your iPhone, your Droid that we talked about, or on your computer. It really depends what your students have. If I click on that, it will take me straight to it.
What is the best hockey team? NY Islanders.
Okay, again, I don't know if the voice part will be so useful for you, but at the end of the day, really just to sum up, and then we're going to finish up here, we saw the usage of UL shorteners and QR codes, either the shorteners that we went through. Again, remember, these Chrome extensions really make things a lot simpler. Creating QR codes from your computer with QR stuff, and then we just mentioned QR voice, and really the most practical, just to know what your students will have in the classroom or at home if you want to share a QR code to get to any website you want to share with them, either from an iPhone, an Android phone, or from your PC. I hope everyone enjoyed, and have a wonderful day.